Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Neurofucked podcast. I'm your host, Haley Olivia, and our other host right over here, the amazing, wonderful
Jaxon Rosa. And let's not wait any longer. Let's get those little attention spans going. Let's get it going. Let's do it right now. It's time for episode. Take it away, Terance.
Finger guns.
Finger guns, really? So, 2007.
It's time for Neurofucked Podcast with your host, Jaxon Rosa, that mischievous motherfucker, Haley Olivia, what's your name, girl? You on the spectrum, and Terance. We've got autism, ADHD, OCD, all the D's. We got stories and artists from all walks of life. It's time to get fucked neurologically.
That was me at your Tyler Perry show. Myself a lot of desk space here. This is what we're going to talk about.
I love you always do notes like that.
Yeah, with the little check boxes.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It looks like we're already rolling, so I want to just do something real quick. We're going to do 5, just silent, everyone. 5, 4, 3, 2.
It's getting
They know each other a long time.
so
Okay. Again, so hot.
Have you seen the video? That really old video of all of the elderly in the choir taking their clothes off to the song?
No, I don't know what you're watching, but
No?
I would watch it for sure.
yeah, I'll watch that.
Give me hope.
Oh, you really should look it up. It's hilarious.
Old people having
Taking
fun.
their
No,
clothes
they-
off.
I mean,
They were literally stripping their clothes off singing the song.
are old people not allowed to have fun, Haley? Is that
No, they're
funny
not.
to you?
They are not.
Well, I feel
They're
like
not
you
allowed to
were
have
the
fun.
one that brought that up because I never said that.
Am I putting words in your mouth?
Gaslighting.
yeah, exactly. Haley
I
is
feel
my
like I'm
foil.
y'all's therapist, and this is couples therapy.
Nah. She's like a sister to me.
I know, but still.
She's a wonderful, excellent comedian. She's a music artist, and you can see her YouTube special, comedy special debut, Black Alice, Drama Queen on YouTube. She's got some more specials lined up in the cards, which is pretty dope. You could see her open for Marlon Wayans, classic Marlo. You can see her doing just about every damn show in LA and across the globe. She is a world traveler, and she is my friend. And give it up for Alexis Miranda.
I've never met this man before today.
Oh, that's too bad.
You actually left a great opportunity for that one, so.
Absolutely. It was low-hanging fruit
Yeah, it
for
is.
sure.
Sure is.
I don't know him either.
Oh.
Dang.
Why are you guys in my home?
No one knows you.
I don't know. How did I end up here?
Yeah, I don't know. I found her on the street.
What is this?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm like, where'd you go last night? Maybe you got roofied or something.
Maybe I blacked out and woke up in a new reality.
Alternate
quiet.
reality.
The alternate timeline where Haley is a good person and
Dang. Haley, why you be out
well,
here?
I'm saying in my reality that I got tunneled from, like, you were like a complete asshole. Yeah.
Oh.
But you're so great in this one. But you're so great in this one.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So we traded places. Because I'm in
guess
my
so.
villain era.
We're not here to talk about us. We're here to talk about you.
Who, me?
Yeah.
We are here to talk
What
about
y'all
you.
want to know?
Well, there's a lot. There's a lot under the surface we
There's
want to
a
cover.
lot.
So, I
lot.
first of all want to talk about the moment I met you. Maybe you could give us your version of this, because I'm not quite.
Okay,
I feel like
you're
you can
neuro fucked. I get it. So
Yeah.
I gotta take the reins because I'm a little neuro fucked too. Now that I think about it, actually hanging out with you and seeing you process things, I was like, I do that too. Seriously. So I don't know.
Maybe undiagnosed something. Something
Oh, you definitely have diagnosed with me a few things.
Well,
Because
I
I've
mean,
never been checked out for anything, but I know there's some stuff
You got some
going
stuff,
on.
yeah.
Sometimes you hang out with your friends and they confide in you, oh, hey, I'm on the spectrum, or I'm here, and then you go, I get along with you really well.
Right. Right.
What does that say about me?
That is exactly what it was.
Yeah, that was, I mean, that was all of us growing up before.
Wow.
Like, if you weren't diagnosed when you were younger, growing up and you're hanging out with people, and then you realize, I did really get along with people who were on the spectrum or ADHD or anything like that. So
birds of a feather, they stick together.
Copyright strikes.
Birds of a feather stick together.
Yeah, love my Billie Eilish. Yeah.
Yeah, we love her. Oh yeah, like we met through a mutual friend, I guess. Cause you know, whatever.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna spill the tea, but
some drama.
Yeah, it was Jackson's roommate, and me and this dude.
oh yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you know.
Yeah.
Me and this dude, we met at a coffee shop and we just bonded over. And I was with another friend at the coffee shop and we were just talking about like movies that we grew up on that meant a lot to us. And his roommate was sort of like ear hustling from across the coffee shop.
As he did.
That's right. And I was telling my homeboy at the time, I was telling Dash, I was like, yo, like I love movies like The Goonies, Oliver Twist, E.T., Home Alone, and then his roommate jumped up and was like, me too. And he came over and we started talking and connecting, and then he just kept telling me, he was like, you should meet my roommate, and I didn't know if I liked him all the way, and so I would be like, no, I don't want to meet your roommate. I don't want to meet your roommate. I don't know if I want to meet your roommate. You know, I like talking to you about movies. No, but I ended up liking the guy. Let me stop. But yeah, he just kept saying, I really want you to meet my roommate. And then I came to the house one day and Jaxon got on his guitar and he started playing his guitar and improvising songs for like an hour straight. Like he didn't stop. Like, and I was just so like, I was enamored. Cause I was like, I want to do that. Like, I want to freestyle like that. And it's like whatever you threw him, he could just sing anything about that. And he just kept going. And it was fun and it was funny. And I think we threw you like drugs.
Yeah.
And so he went on, he freestyled about drugs for at least 36 hours, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like I'm cracking up. I'm like, you crazy. And I'm listening to him. I'm like, yo, this is dope. And then at the end, he goes, yeah, I've never done drugs in my life. And I was like, what?
I like how you had to clarify that. You're like, to clarify to everybody in this room.
Let's break the reality for a sec and just let y'all know that this is not me.
But he was so knowledgeable about meth and you know, and
did he show you this? You know what I'm about to say, the song that he created with AI.
Which one?
There's a multiple. I made a playlist.
Slap that ass or something.
Look,
oh yeah. I had the pleasure.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure.
We'll get to that at some point in the future. But there's some. I don't condone releasing AI music on the platform. It just takes away from the actual artists and the money and everything that's going around.
I agree.
As starting points as demos, that's where I'm starting with them. And I think I could get some cool like people to just fill in the blanks on those. So that's fun. Yeah. But so we had like a super cool connection over the kind of improv and just goofiness.
Mm-hmm. It was goofy. It was silly.
It was just goofy and silly. And I noticed right away that like you loved everything goofy and silly.
Absolutely.
You were a goofball yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And so there was a certain point where we went to, you were basically, we would host you sometimes at our place.
Yeah.
And like
I was a bum.
Well,
every time I came in town. This was in the pandemic and I was living in Texas. So yeah, every time I came in town, I would stay. Well, not every time, but yeah, I stayed with Jaxon and his roommate.
Should we tell the CBD story or no?
Oh man, we gotta tell the CBD. We gotta
I'm trying to give everyone a background.
I got my large drink. I'm ready.
Oh yeah, okay.
Well, so I'm gonna just let y'all know I've done drugs in my lifetime.
Just
gonna
to
put that out there.
Terance turned around he looked back at us. He's like,
"We're gonna have so many good reaction shots of Terance."
if you
Yeah, you know, I'm not out here doing crack or anything, but just more so things like mushrooms. I might have a good edible you know, and boy, oh boy, did I have a good edible.
So one night you were on my futon, right?
I was on your futon, correct.
We had a couch, but our air conditioning one summer had broken and leaked water and ice into the floorboard, so we had to remove our floors in that shitty apartment, and so we had to remove the couch. We had to remove all the furniture. So Lex came back and was like, "Where the fuck am I gonna sleep?" And so yeah, she's on. I have this like kind of LL Bean style like futon, so I put it out there. So that's the. So she's staying out there in the living room, and what happened there?
I took some edible, and look, I'm not the edible person. Like, I'm not the edible girl. But that day I was, we in lockdown. It's COVID outside. I just was like, fuck it. Like we gonna do the edible. I could die next week. Like, we gonna do the edible. And next thing you know, and I had plans that day. I had a lot of plans. My calendar was full, and. I was on your floor, spread eagle, for like 9 hours straight. I just was like laid out on his floor like this, just legs wide open. I don't know if y'all can see me, but like I was trying to make snow angels, and I'm with these two dudes, but that's how comfortable I felt. With Jaxon and I don't know if I can say his name.
You can, yeah.
I'm gonna call him Deer. That's how I felt. I felt really comfortable with Jaxon and Deer. Yeah.
The fact that no one actually knows the name, so that they can't appreciate the fact that you said Deer.
Some people will know.
Yeah, it's okay.
And they will crack up.
It's cool. Yeah. It's cool. So basically, I remember walking in there. I was like, Lex, it's hello, like tapping you on the shoulder. It's like 11:30. Are you okay? Are you feeling okay? And you just kind of roll over.
I couldn't talk.
And I was like, she's like, I took some edibles last night. I'm like, Lex, didn't you say you had something to be at? Like, I
had a couple things to go to. I flaked on a couple people that night. Like, yeah.
So I remember you said, well, here's what I took. And you showed me the thing. I'm like, that's a lot of milligrams.
I forgot what I took. Do you remember what I took?
Like in the hundreds of you were like.
It was crazy.
Yeah, you were out like toast.
I was on space. I was on Mars, dude.
And then I remember the rest of the day you were just watching Netflix. You're watching this.
Because I couldn't move. Yeah, I couldn't move no parts of my body.
I'm like looking over your shoulder. Who's
Jello.
That? I was like, who's that? It's like, that's my YouTube astrologist. And then you're like, I'm like, oh, what's that? I'm just watching Netflix. Jaxon, leave me alone.
All I could move was my fingers. And I had the phone right here. And I just like,
I could only press the buttons on the remote.
Literally all I did all night. I couldn't move no fingers.
That's good.
Can I just say, and I tell you this all the time, and you're probably like, shut up. But, it's dope when you have friends, guy friends, that you could just be spread eagle in their house, just completely all out of sorts, that could have went left anywhere else. It was just dope to have friends like that.
Yeah, you feel comfortable
where you
around.
feel safe.
Yeah, you feel safe. Yeah.
It's very important. I want to talk about, I know a little bit about it, but for the audience and for Haley and for everyone, the art school that you went to, you grew up in and around Dallas and went to a pretty phenomenal high school, and you met a lot of cool a lot of cool people. I want you to was that a formative experience for you, and how would you describe that to kids who might have not had the art school experience, or might have not or how did that form you?
Man, it saved me in a lot of ways, to be real with you. Because I grew up in, my mom was a single mom. And, I wasn't going to a private school. So it was like in the public schools where we were initially, they weren't that great. Like, I went to some public schools and I got jumped like 3 times. I got punched in the face by a boy. He ripped a chain off my neck. It was crazy. Just hood shit, just hood shit. And to be real. And so when high school came around, it was like, I'm auditioning for the art school. But I was already like into the theater. So my mom, she actually took me to audition at a theater company in Dallas, and it was like a professional theater company. So I actually started doing professional plays when I was 12. And then that's how I even knew about the art school, because I didn't even know about it. And then just being in this play, a lot of the older kids in the play, they went to the Dallas Arts Magnet, and I was like, okay, that's where I want to go. I'm going there. So it, just set me off on a trajectory. I would not be the person that I am today without the art school experience, for sure. Yeah.
No, I did all of that, the arts and everything, so I kind of understand that. Like, I went to college for theater, so
me too.
Yeah, so
me too.
So right. You kind of understand it, and especially like people who went to my college were already like known. Like they would say, "Oh yes, I am autistic," or "I am this," or "I am that," So it was a very comforting environment to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Do you feel like there was a culture shock in going from public school to art school? Like,
No,
what was the biggest thing?
It wasn't a culture shock. What I loved about Booker T was, at that time, they had like ratios. Well, that's what I heard. I don't really know how true this is, but apparently they let like 33 in. So it was a pretty mixed school. And then like I didn't have, it wasn't the typical, obviously, high school experience. We didn't have sports. We didn't have jocks. We didn't have cheerleaders, But everybody had their clusters. You had, like, the theater geeks. The dancers were stuck up and kind of like, I'm a ballerina. The musicians, we called them. It was just a lot of drama with the music, the singers. It was just always, right?
It's true everywhere.
Right, the singers had a lot of drama.
I don't know why.
They're divas. It's the diva mentality with the singers.
and the dancers too. Like it's literally, you'll watch TV shows about these cliques and it's actually real.
Yeah.
Like it's not really that
it's
dramatized.
Real. It's real, but what I will say is we still co-mingle. Like we get around. Because I was the type to get around to all the lunch tables. Like, I knew the emo painters and visual arts, Pedro and them with their skateboards tagging stuff, huh?
You're an extrovert?
I was in high school, absolutely. Yes. Absolutely an extrovert.
I was an introvert.
And see, I was the type to pull up to an introvert's desk and be like, "What's up, hey?" Like, that was me. Like, yeah.
I could totally see you doing that too.
Literally. And they would just be like, "Oh, introverted, but look at me." Like, and I'd be like, "How you feeling today?" Like, I was the type to get around and talk to everybody, for sure. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, real quick, dispel this myth if you can. Theater kid orgies, are those real, or is that
I wish, man.
Jaxon.
Terance, come on, don't judge me.
I wish we had orgies. Because,
he has a story.
Went to my school, huh?
Oh, sorry, I cut you off, but Terance has a story about that.
Oh, you got a story about an orgy?
Okay, you can chime in if you want,
yeah. Sure. I went to SAC in Florida, and usually I come out of these, I usually just go home because I'm a homebody, but my brain decided just stay out a little longer. So I walked around for like maybe 20 minutes or so, and this guy who was handing out flyers was like, "Hi, you look like you can use some friends."
Oh no.
And he's like, "Oh, so there's this little comedy thing happening down the road from here. You can make some friends. Again, you look like you can use some." And I was kind of offended for that time. So this is probably going to be the long version. It's fine. So he goes, "So you're going to go?" And I was like, "Sure, okay." And I like to call this a series of red flags. And
cut to the juicy part.
So I get in my car and don't even bother asking the guy for the exact directions, because it took me like 2 hours out of where I was. This was in Orlando. And the GPS says, "All right, you're going to get off on the road and drive on this dirt road." So it looks like something out of Get Out. And so I drove for like 30 minutes and I pulled up to this mansion that looked like something out of Great Gatsby. And I pull up and the guy at the front's like, hi, did you bring your robe? And I said, no. And he was like, by the way, you need a masquerade mask. And I was like, I wasn't told about either of these things. And so I walk in, and before I walk in, he goes, oh, by the way, need you to strip down to your boxers. And I'm like, okay. So I do that.
Okay.
Why are you so suggestible?
I was like,
going with the flow.
yeah, I just kept going. I thought carpe diem, I guess, but was stupid about it. And so I walk in, and again, everyone has their robe and their mask on, but because, again,
What the body's looking like?
it was all shapes and sizes. It was very interesting. And then before I walked in, the guy goes, oh, so by the way, we're out of masquerade masks, but I have this mask that'll make you look like Robin the Boy Wonder. So I'm like, okay.
Oh my God.
And keep in mind, he's still going. He's just like, all right.
Yep.
Right.
I'm just saying okay constantly. And so I walk in, and then there's like all these like nice paintings and fancy music playing around. And there's like a chocolate volcano for some reason. And so I'm just walking around for like maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Like Diddy House.
And it gets better.
It gets better.
And so the guy who like owns the mansion, I guess, comes out of these big double doors and goes, all right, guys, you can come on in. Walk into this dark, deep, desolate room, can't see a thing. And he presses a button, the lights turn on. It's really nice. It looks kind of like a dojo for some reason. And then he presses another button, and then the ceiling opens up like something you'd see in like, I don't know, Carrie or something. And then another button. He really likes buttons. And so like a giant disco ball like slowly descends, but it's like there's a guy on the end like lowering it down on some string. And then he just, for some reason, he just screams, let's fuck! And then they just rip off their clothes like if they're in like a Kingdom Hearts game or something. And then just starts going at it. And then I'm just sitting there in the corner like scared and mildly aroused, thinking to myself, holy shit, this is real. I only heard about this in fairy tales. And so everyone's going at it. Yeah, I don't know.
Terance.
What kind? Not fairy tales for children. Clearly.
Terance, I worry for you. I worry for your safety.
Yeah,
The fact that he's
So did
still
you go
there.
at
Yeah. I was just again like in the corner as I usually am. And then there's like this old and young couple going at it. There's this old couple going at it. So yes, they still do that, just at a slower pace.
When did you decide to leave?
We're getting there. We're getting there. And then there's this one girl.
there.
Yeah, there's this one girl who's taking it from like 20 minutes goes by, and she's like, "You're not going to get into the scenario." I was like, "Nah, not really." And she goes, "All right, cool. So this isn't your scene anyway, but here's my number on this piece of paper, and call me sometime." And I'm like, "Yeah." And then I go, "Cool," and I give her like a really slow thumbs up, like out of Terminator. And then I finally leave. I leave the clothes. I don't get any souvenirs or food or anything. And then I finally get in my car. And then finally I call the guy and I go, "Why the hell did you?" He's like, "So did you make any friends?" And I was like, "I got one person's number." He's like, "Awesome." And I was like, "Yeah, but why the hell didn't you tell me this was a fucking orgy?" And then there's like a hard pause. And he goes, "How did you end up at an orgy? This was an open mic nights at this place called, fuck, I forgot the name. It was like 2 miles down the road. Like everyone's heard about it." And as I'm driving, I have the windows down because this was during the summer and my AC wasn't working at the time. And a semi-truck drives by me like going 80 on the 60 because again, I'm still like in disbelief. And then the paper flies out of my hand and that's it.
Wow. So you lose the number. So you were.
He wanted to make it
lost.
cinematic when he told the ending of the story.
Wow, yeah. It was very thriller. Yeah, that was insane. I have to stretch after that story. One second. So Lex, you've been doing this for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I want to tap into the feelings, the vibes, the first night that you can remember doing stand-up, the first set. What was it like? And like, what were your early experiences or
She
stories
yawns.
sharing the stage?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I started stand up because I was talking to a friend. I moved to LA to act, and I did music, and I was here. And to be real with y'all, I ain't really like the actor's hustle. And my friend was like, "Yo, Alexis, you're funny. You're a goofball." He was like, "And you got a good perspective." He was like, "You should try stand up." And I never would have thought in a million years that I'd ever try stand up. Like, I grew up watching like Def Comedy Jam and all that, but I never thought I would do it. Like, I was like, and when he said that to me, I was like, no. He's like, "I'm telling you," and I'm like, no. And he's like, it's going to put you in the driver's seat of your career. He was like, it fits you, just try it. And so I went to my acting teacher and I was like, hey, such and such said I should try stand-up. He's like, yeah, you a clown. Okay, I really.
You're like, whoa. Okay.
Right. Hey,
Hold
buddy.
on.
Right, you a clown.
In what sense?
Yo, clown ass. Right, and so he was like, just write a 5-minute set. And I didn't know what set was. I was like, what do you mean? He's like write 5 minutes worth of jokes, like a monologue. I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, and do it for class. I said, okay. I did that. Class laughed. But I was always the clown, like the class clown in my acting. You know, I'm always like making everybody laugh. So they laughed. And then my acting teacher's like, yeah, I do an annual charity show at the Comedy Store. And he's like, I want you to open. And I was like, what? Because, you know, I'm like, all right. So I opened for this charity comedy store. So my first show was on the main stage at the Comedy Store, basically, which takes people like years to get to. And yeah, I went, and I think it was like beginner's luck. I was very comfortable, but then also having a theater background, it's like I'm used to being on stage.
Well, I mean, you would hope having a degree would help you with that.
With something. Because I'm
like
in debt, and I don't know why I'm in debt. You feel me, no?
Yeah.
Like, for real, like, what am I mean, I feel like we can't do anything but teach.
Yeah.
Really, with our degree. And it's like, can't we do that? Did you get your master's?
No, I didn't get a master's.
Okay, but you can still teach.
I can, but I think the only thing I've used for teaching, which it's not really like I exactly used my degree, I just used my experience to get an acting coach job, but that's only like, I guess the degree kind of just helped me break into film, but not necessarily like soar in it. It did I could have probably done it without the degree either way.
Right.
So I don't know if it's the same for you or whatever, but
I've never
I was
tried it to do any of it. I just was curious, but I've never tried to work outside of this town. Except for like, stuff like a restaurant job, just stuff like that. But I've never like applied for a real job. I've never.
I haven't. It's not fun. There's so much.
Maybe.
Well, no, I'd say I'd say that's an understatement. You're a really hard worker, and you've done. You've done
I
about
work
any
hard.
job.
No, I work hard.
But you've done just about any jobs to like support your art.
Absolutely. So, from driving Lyft to waiting tables to being a hostess, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I work hard. I roll up my sleeves.
Yeah.
But as far as like getting the resume and applying at a studio I don't want to go into an office.
Yeah,
I don't want to do that.
I feel exactly the same way. And like I had an opportunity to work at CAA, for example. Like I got in there, I like got an interview.
You said you didn't want to do that.
And like they almost convinced me out of it. They said your resume is filled with production stuff. You would be writing emails to the agents and being like, they'd be sending clips and you'd be organizing like reels and just administrative kind of work. And they said, your resume is really creative. Are you sure you want to do this? And I looked at the guy, I'm like, yeah, I don't think I would do, actually. I don't think I do. This is like, would be a great opportunity. I got to this point and I was like, no, you're right. Like, I don't want to do this. I'd rather suffer for another year or two and figure out my contracts and my creative work than to like do this right now.
And that's what you did. You stuck to your guns.
Yeah. It didn't feel right. Yeah, when something doesn't feel right, you know.
Come on.
And it's also, those jobs can be very like, I call them boiler room. Like they're very like intense, and there's a lot of intense people and intense personalities.
People stressed out.
And people just stressed out, not afraid to speak. Like
they got kids.
Yeah, yeah. No, they got kids.
I don't
they got
want to be in that
Yeah,
environment.
they care too much. They don't care enough.
Right.
So like, but yeah, I think we all kind of relate to that. Like it's I have a boring contract type of thing now, but it's still creative. And like it's super nice, and like
you're still in your space.
And I'm still in my space that I've created.
That makes a difference.
Yeah, I wanted to say. So, do you have any?
Oh, one more thing about that first show. I get off the stage. It's beginner's luck. It went very well. I had a good time, and it was like a sold out room. And I get off stage, and Chris Rock is in the wings coming up after me because it's a charity show. And I'm like, what? Like my first show, basically I opened for Chris Rock and I'm in the wings and he looked at me, he was like, you did good. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, cool. Like, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna keep doing it.
That would have like shot everyone would have died after that moment. Like that's such a big.
You did good.
People remember those things when a celebrity of a certain status like is genuine towards you and says something nice. People that really remember that stuff and they carry that confidence.
Oh yeah,
with them,
And I did, and I kind of looked in my peripheral to make sure he didn't like check out my ass when I kept walking, and he didn't. So I was like, okay, he meant it. He meant it.
This is my check to see what kind of guy he is.
Is that your
Cool,
test
he
for
passed.
men?
Well, it's like, okay, do you really think I did good?
Yeah.
Or are you just saying that because
because you're trying to
get some of the good.
Some access, Yeah.
Are you trying to rock Chris Rock? Are you trying to rock and roll?
Yeah, exactly. You gotta.
Trying to get me to rock your socks off,
No, but I guess also he probably didn't have time to be a creep because he was going right on stage, so he didn't have time for it.
He has a wife.
I don't know. Does it matter?
Does it?
Yeah.
Where are we?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say it's interesting you say that. I remember in Marlon's set actually talking about how Chris Rock would heckle him at his shows and just call him like his set, like when he was doing his sets again. And I just find it so funny that you were doing your first set and he's like, good job. And then he goes to Marlon's
He heckled
show.
Marlon and praised me.
Yeah. It's interesting.
So,
that is interesting. I never thought about
question. So, because did Jaxon fill you in on like the premise of this podcast or like the purpose of it or anything?
Did I do my job correctly? Is what
Yes, did Jaxon do his job?
that.
The whole idea of the podcast is kind of talking about neurodivergency in a neurotypical world. And it's not necessarily that you have to be like a specific thing. You don't need a diagnosis. You don't need any of that particularly, but like kind of exploring it and understanding it along with us and kind of talking about that a little bit. So I was curious if at any point in time, I know we touched upon a little bit where you're like, oh yeah, I completely understand that. Like when I was hanging out with Jaxon and everything, and then he told me, oh yeah, I'm autistic. And you're like, like we get along really well, things like that. Did you ever think, maybe I'm kind of more towards that rather than the neurotypical world?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've noticed it. I don't know if it's because that's just age, but I do find that I am at my best when I can just slow it down. You know what I'm saying? And I watch him do that.
Yeah.
The patience of this man. It's... I'm sorry.
Why did you grunt like that?
Whenever I'm complimented on something that I go,
That was great. But yes.
He stands a little straighter.
Right, as you should. Come on. Chin up. Yes, chest out.
now I'm
Let's
going to
go.
do that to him. It's going to become a tick. If
I like that.
Yeah.
It's very, you sounded like a black uncle in that moment. That's why it resonated with me.
Terance.
He sounded like a black uncle. If you would have heard what I heard. He said, almost like, Yeah, that was a black uncle.
Lex, because
I grew up Jamaican, so.
Oh, that's different.
Yeah, that's a whole.
That's a whole different black.
Lex, I am your black uncle.
There are different shades and nuances of black.
I am your black uncle, so go on. So.
Take off the mask. Take off the mask.
Scooby-Doo.
Mask.
Oh my God, black uncle! It was you the whole. Okay.
It's all you meddling kids.
You
had
meddling
to expose
kids.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but taking it slow, man. You taught me how to slow down, and I really realized that's my sweet spot. Hanging out with you.
Well, that's
versus
good. That's good because I can like match your energy too. When we're kind of in a playful like playing around the piano or like creating some musical ideas, we can get into that phase. But I think, from a processing standpoint, the way I describe my needing to slow down is like more of a coping of I wouldn't say coping mechanism, but in order to detach from the stimulus of the world.
But
So
that's
you
what
mean-
that's why I learned to do it.
Yeah,
because I get overstimulated, and I don't even think I
okay.
had the language for that until I started hanging out with Jaxon.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. So he also helped trigger your kind of journey of understanding what you needed, right?
yeah. Yeah.
What were the things, if you don't mind me asking, what are the
I
things?
do mind.
Oh, fuck.
We both mind Jaxon. Be quiet.
That's what you get when you get a type A
talking
personality
right
in the
now.
room. You get a type A, you get a type, yeah. So no,
What type am I? You didn't finish.
undisclosed. So a type Z. So we got basically like I want to know if you were to like make a list or think about the types of stimulus, because we all reach a certain point in the day where I think most people can relate from a anxiety. People that generally have experienced anxiety, what gets to them, like. But what are the things that you feel like are like environmental or emotional or whatever triggers that like start you on the like that you need to detach and do the things that help your mental state? Do you know what the things you could point out?
I have a weird thing when I get around my significant other at times. It's always connected to a significant other. Damn. And so, yeah, sometimes I'm like, I get anxiety about just being, sometimes, you know, I really, what am I saying? I value people, and I value everybody in my life, but I really love when I can be around somebody and not have to talk all the time. Like, we feel comfy in silence.
When I'm with Jaxon, I don't talk very much. He just talks.
But you know, I don't like some people. So sometimes I also feel like when I get around my significant other, there's this pressure to talk and maybe it's just not my significant other, but sometimes I feel pressure to talk or to entertain. And I really appreciate when I'm around people and we can just be chilling and they don't feel a certain way because I'm, you know. And then the exchange just happens as it happens. Versus you get with somebody and you're like, we gotta talk about everything because
So kind of what you're saying is because you said you were an extrovert. So it is a lot of the times natural for you, but like sometimes you just don't want to have to do it. And it's kind of like the way to put it is, especially for people who are autistic like myself, is taking off the mask, dropping the mask, and just being rather than having to focus on a specific way of being that is, I guess, approved of by someone else.
right.
Or counted as, oh, this is how you should be in
Right.
society. And that's why I'm like it's a very neurotypical thing too, to be like, oh, you're supposed to fit this standard when you're in public. I'm like, well, sometimes I just, why do I have to do that?
Right. Like,
Can
for
I
real.
just be here?
Yeah, that's the thing is like, and for me, it's like, as a conversationalist around the right people, like being in conversations with people that are very neurotypical is like speaking a language that and having everyone stare at you all of a sudden, like what the hell did you just say? What does that mean? How is that connected? You know, so you kind of like it's that feeling of like it's like a horror movie that sometimes you just sitting there and everyone, like, the camera like slowly pans around and everyone's like, huh, as if to say, we didn't expect you to say that, or not only that, we don't understand, we don't know what you're talking about. You know, it's so sometimes it's being conversationally out of the loop, or for me, I kind of think 10 steps ahead of the current conversation. So that's one thing we kind of skipping through in your mind to fit into you. If you're
making connections that other people aren't making. And so when you say the connection 10 ahead, like you're saying, everyone else is not 10 connections
and I feel very gaslit when the conversation eventually, like 15 minutes later, gets to that point naturally.
Yeah, and you're like,
and I feel like, look what I was telling you. Like, but I think everyone.
So
looks
basically,
at you.
y'all smart, we dumb.
No, well,
Yeah.
you know, I thought about this the other day. I don't have a lot of friends that are just like, let's watch a football game. Let's
same.
like the NFL friends. Like usually every group of guys, like most normal guys, has that part of their friend group that just like goes NFL Sundays, like is basically there together on the couch cracking beers, whether it's football, whether it's football, whether it's anything that they're watching. It's like gathering on sports teams. That seems like the most, to me, I love when I can be around people enjoying something. Yeah. But I'm like, I don't have a lot of friends that just like do normal people things.
I've never been to a girl brunch. Ever.
Oh, yeah?
I've never been to a girl brunch with the mimosas. I've never done it.
Understood that.
Same,
I see all of these like Instagram feed posts like, we're all at brunch with our mimosas, and I'm like, but how do you get there?
Right. And,
how does that occur?
And is it fun for real?
I know. I'm like, I guess it's fun, but I feel like I would just zone out halfway through and want to leave. I would definitely
zone out. I can see from the post that I would zone out.
Yeah.
And I've said to myself, because I'm just not that girl, I guess. I don't know. And I used to feel like there was something wrong with me, but now that you say it.
I honestly did too. I thought I'm missing something here.
Right.
Yeah, you're not missing out on much. I've been invited to those.
Of course, Jackson's been invited to those.
Has he been to one and we haven't? What?
I know, right? A girl brunch?
No, I do have like the part of my friend group that I've known for a very long time. My good friends from like preschool. Mm-hmm. I know 2 of them. They would appear to be, to most people, like normal angst, teenage stuff. Like had fairly like small town normal friend groups. I happen to be a part of their friend group, but it turns out we all known each other so long in our history together that we all kept in touch because we all had something. They just so happened to have friend groups that were more like fraternity, like college, party like lifestyle and all that. And they were the rebels that, getting, arrested and smoking weed behind the, bleachers type of people, stoner kids. They went on to be like scientists, they went on to be like, one of them worked for SpaceX and NASA, and like the other one is like a chemist about, it works for companies. And like, I was the artist, but what's interesting about them is when I've gone to their weddings, when I've gone to their friend groups, I don't want to call them out or anything. There's just a very vastly different friend group, and I enjoyed hanging out with them. But those are the moments where you go to we're hanging out at the wedding table. And you're actually just like, these people have very like, they're not bad people.
they're not
bad people. I just like feel vastly like we feel vastly different from each other, and we care about different things.
I feel that a lot.
Yeah.
I don't care about the things a lot of people care about. I'm so glad you said that. Yeah. I truly don't. Like what most people talk about, I'm just like, all right. Yeah. Like I feel you on that. That's
an artist thing. That is definitely like
is that an artist thing?
I feel like it's an artist mindset.
Okay.
It's like you crave interesting things. You crave things that like open your mind and your curiosity. A lot of people have turned off their curiosity.
I need to sit down and talk about the reason for the universe. I don't want to sit down and talk about how you were cheated on a week ago.
I agree with you. Yeah. I agree.
I am so sorry, man, but let's talk about something else because I can't.
You got cheated on.
Because then I'll have to mask for 2 hours. Like, I'm so sorry.
I got a question. Do y'all hate hearing like unsolicited stories or like unsolicited? My date went like this step by step. Like, okay,
I don't like hearing people complain.
Well, even if it's not complaining, so today this guy got in my car and I'm an Uber driver. and then he said this to me, and then he said he had a wife, and I asked him how long have they been married. I tuned that out.
Here's the thing with that, though.
I wasn't there, and if you don't give me a what?
That's actually a neurodivergent thing. It's trauma dumping.
Oh.
And just
doing it or listening?
I'm guilty of doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm guilty of doing that. And I'll say too much. And I've tried to train myself basically and learn. Sometimes Jaxon has told me, Haley, you say too much too early. And I'm like, yes, I know. I do.
I don't even remember.
You have told me that, yeah. All of my friends have said that. Don't do that. It annoys people. I'm like, yes, okay. I have trouble.
Yeah, it's good to have healthy boundaries, but like at the same time, people, when you have friends, you do want to leave space to talk with them about some of the stuff that's kind of getting at them, right?
Absolutely.
So that's the thing. But when it's like gossipy and when it's like kind of like
Oh no, not
petty,
gossipy or
that's
petty,
different.
not like that. Different.
I think that's what you're like thinking,
Well,
like, right?
gossipy, petty, but it could be just something that happened that day, and the punchline is not that great. And I'm thinking, I'm like, yo, at the end of this tunnel, it better be some bright light. And it's like fluorescent. You know what I'm
I
saying?
can't remember. A comedian I can't remember the comic, but like there's a bit. Someone has a bit about how like certain people like tell stories, like kids tell stories, which is like there's no ending. Like kids don't have a formation on how to tell stories properly. So when you're listening to like a 6-year-old like start to talk about his day, you're like, when's the ending? When, like you know, I need beginning, middle, and end. And they're just like, and then.
I could take it from a kid because they're cute.
Kids you can handle, but
I
like
could handle it.
But some adults don't learn storytelling,
Dang.
and so they just end up being like, and then. So there could be a version of that where it's just like you got to tune it out, and I
You
think
have to tune it out.
Definitely tune
That's
it
all
out.
you
it
can
also has to
do.
be. I think it has to do with being an empathetic person, because if you want to leave space in your mind, your heart for like the people that are telling you something that you actually care about, and when you have to fit everyone's stories up there in your system, you're gonna be like really stressed.
It's overloaded.
You're gonna take their stress and make it your stress. So I always tell people like if you're gonna come to me with listen, I care about you, but right now I don't want your stress to become my stress.
Period.
Because I can't handle it right now.
Boundaries.
I care about you, but like right now, like I can't. So.
And in neurodivergency, especially if you're somewhere on the spectrum, it's kind of hard to understand and create boundaries. That's something that I know for me, it's not for everybody, obviously, because a spectrum is a spectrum.
Right.
Very wide. But I know for me, it took me longer. It took me more until I was like 26 to understand how to create boundaries for people. So
I think most people struggle with that. Not even neurodivergent people. I think society struggles with that.
Yeah,
Boundaries.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's actually what you're saying. I'm making an adjustment from my perspective. The being neurodivergent, a lot of people that are going to listen to this and our experiences are going to like find a thing to connect it to, and that's good. It doesn't mean you're on the spectrum. It could mean you have anxiety, right?
Yeah.
It could mean anything actually. The point is that I think the difference is actually we become I knew my diagnosis way back, so I had to become an expert on people that learn become an expert matter on it, on the subject matter, and then essentially you have to then work against your wiring internally. You're not going to change yourself completely, but you have to work 10 times as hard to then adapt into that's why I said the new rule book, right? You have to so what that means is that because you're doing that, you actually become better with people. You become more empathetic.
I have
You
brought
become
this
kinda
up before. I think I've talked to you about this before, Jaxon, where people who are there is such a stereotype with autistic people, right? Where when you say autistic, they think of one thing. Oh, you can't look people in the eye. You're
Love
bad
on the
at social. Yeah. Like I know. And actually, people who are autistic are better sometimes because you notice the tiny little changes in someone's expression. You become better at analyzing it, and even if someone's not honest with you, you know that there's something else going on there, right?
Right.
So that's the stereotype that
Yeah.
bothers me.
Well, it's true. Well, because it's like the way I describe it is it's a stereotype.
Yeah.
But you were born with that. It's like imagine if there was a part of your function to survive socially as a human that you were just not born with. That's what it's like. Certain kids have the starting advantage of basically having this thing that asks them to analyze the kids on the playground around them, that asks them to say, hey, is that person talking about me? Is that person lying? Is that person this? Can I trust this person? Can I do this? when you're not give those are tools in the social tool belt that are just for survival as a human that you're just given.
Yeah.
When you're not given everything, but there's essentials. There's the essentials pack, and you learn, and you also learn from your parents, and you learn from your environment. But like on the spectrum, you're just like, I don't know what anyone's saying like right now.
But
I don't know what the hell's going on actually.
But the thing is too, if it's never brought up to you that how you view the world or do things, if you happen to be autistic and you don't know it, no, not everyone has that same experience. And then later in your life, you're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I thought that this is how everyone did things. Like I thought you were supposed to pay really special close attention to your facial expression.
I thought that I had to use 100% more of my brain power
Yes, exactly.
Just to figure out what the hell was going on. And then I would not finish the work I was supposed to. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I cut you off.
No, go ahead.
But I thought that I was really good at reading people. Mm-hmm. And apparently, apparently that is a part of, sometimes for certain people, that's a part of, like, that's a telltale sign.
Yeah, it's the adaptation.
I just adapted. That's what I did.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, okay, enough about us again. See, this is actually another thing. It's kind
of a back and forth of them learning and then.
Because I just learned a lot.
Oh, good. Okay. Good.
Yeah, I told you, honestly, I didn't even start thinking about this stuff pertaining to myself until we became friends.
Good, because
seriously.
I was a little worried that we were going overboard, because I'm not worried about sharing our stories. I'm just worried about, like, actually for me, a point of interest y'all to know is if I say, oh, enough about us, is like, because a part of being on the spectrum is unabashedly oversharing. And so what?
But you know what? I've always done that my whole life.
Yeah.
My mom would be like, "This too much. It's too much. You're gonna get somebody arrested. It's too much."
Arrested.
Oh, that's literally what my mom used to say. You gonna get somebody put in jail, arrested. Stop talking. You talk too much. My mom would always say, "You talk too much."
I met your mom. I met your sister. They're quite amazing, interesting characters.
The divas, yes.
Yeah, the divas.
The divas.
Is there a story of like when you started feeling like you were getting the kickoff you needed, like you'd assimilated into the comedy scene a little bit?
Oh yeah, and it happened like 3 years or 2 years into it. I did a competition, like a contest in Inglewood, and it was at this like hole in the wall comedy spot, but it packed out. And basically the winner got a spot on this Russell Westbrook like tour show date. And so anyway, I did it and I won. And I booked my first like big gig out of town, paid. I put up in a hotel room, and then they brought me onto that squad, but it was like the Russell Westbrook thing. And I think that date was in Oklahoma. But yeah, man, I get there, and mind y'all, I didn't know. I don't keep up with sports. I don't watch sports, basketball, none of that. If you ain't Michael Jordan, I don't know who you are. If you ain't LeBron James, I don't know who you are. Like, I just, I'm not in that world like that. So I didn't know who Russell Westbrook was. Mm-hmm. So I get to this show, and I mean, I knew I had car service from the hotel. So I'm like, okay. And then I get to the hotel. It's really nice. And I'm like, okay. And then I pull up at the show, and it's like red carpet and press. And I'm not looking good at all. I look like a bum. And so I look like a straight up bum, because I'm just thinking, I'm just coming to do comedy. Because I like, sometimes for me to like really be out of my head and just be goofy and just be in the moment and like not care. I like to kind of look bummy, and I'm trying to work on that. I don't like that. It's like, why can't I be that looking cute? So
well, to be fair, most of the time you dress up pretty cool and you look pretty chic.
Well,
like a large portion of the time.
But there's a difference. But that's me trying to like, because then Marlon would tell me, at the end of the day, this is still a business. Like, you need to try to think about how you want to present yourself and all that. But I will say, no, my best shows come from like sweats and hoodies and big T-shirts. To be real,
yeah,
my best shows.
Comfort wear.
Well, not my best shows, but you.
You know what I'm saying? You just be vibing, yo.
What
You be
shows?
vibing.
When you
I'm
up
like,
next?
yes, same.
Yeah, right. No, but you
I
feel
meant
me.
the sweats part.
Yeah, you like, I'm comfortable in life in sweats. I do a
Yeah.
better job in life in sweats.
I'll do photo shoots with like all my skin showing, but then
Yeah.
everything else I'm in sweats.
Yeah,
But
the
on the
pandemic
date, you
ruined me.
showing up, huh?
Pandemic ruined me. I went back to joggers, hoodies. I went back to complete sweats and, you know.
I like this outfit.
Yeah. But, like, there's a way to do it that looks kind of nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
but
doing
yeah,
it. And
you do
doing
it like very like you dress it up a little bit. You style.
Yeah.
You
Oh, yeah.
style
I
it.
got
Very
this,
stylish.
This is my 50 Shades of Grey outfit. It's actually 3 shades of gray, but we're not counting.
I was gonna, I counted, and I was like, oh, he off.
Yeah,
He off,
and then all your
Shoes
rings.
great.
he off by 40,
He off.
47.
He off about one shade,
He's off.
right? About 33%.
I like it how you're like, should I say?
I'm in your house right now.
Yeah, you can say it. But no,
But yeah, that was the moment for me where I was like, oh shoot, I got cameras in my face, I got press, like news stations, and they're like, how does it feel to be on the Russell Westbrook show tonight? Da, 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 da. And I was just like, yeah, it's I'm having a good time, and I didn't know who Russell Westbrook was. I didn't know it was a big deal.
like, what do you do in your life when you are overstimulated by the world? And this
Easy.
is stuff that can help anyone.
Yeah.
But for me, if you look around the space, if you look around the apartment even, that light is covered by a soft, like canvas over there. Everything that I have in here, except for a few lights, just because of the way I have them pointing right now, are fairly like soft,
Right.
and they're diffused. They're pointed at the walls. They're around, and the reason is because that is actually a thing for a lot of neurodivergent people, is the hyperstimulation of light, sound,
Yeah.
smells, touch, all of that. So I have the settings. I turn them all red at night, or I do something like that. It's what are the things in your life that you
Yeah.
do to detach?
I meditate. I have a meditation practice. And I've studied different forms of meditation throughout my life. But I meditate. I like being in nature. I like just like listening to nature sounds, like going outside, going for a walk, like listening to the birds and at night the crickets. I really love those sounds, and they calm me. But meditation for me, I just need to sit with myself and just connect with whatever that energy is.
What got you
inside.
into meditation in the first place? What was the kind of calling card that made you get into it?
Oh man, it's when they kept saying Beyonce was in the Illuminati and she worshipped the devil, and I was a huge Beyonce fan.
You're like, I just need to meditate right now about this.
Well, like it just sent me down this whole path of like, first, like I grew up in like the Black Baptist church, you know what I'm saying, like Christian Black Baptist church, every weekend. But my parents didn't go to church. They were young parents and heathens and listened to rap music. So I went with like other family members. So what I loved about that was I still got the church experience, which I feel like the church that I went to, the church experience I had was valuable. But I'm glad I didn't have parents that were like, you got to do this and wear this and this is the way. Like I just got to go and it was fun.
You just made that choice for yourself.
Yeah, I was just with like going with my aunties and stuff because it was fun. The music was it, man. The music at church. I tell Jaxon, black church music is like when they do it right. Like, cause nowadays I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. The music sounds a little too like poppy sometimes. But I like that down home southern gospel music. It is
When are we
something
going?
about it.
I gotta come
energy.
to Texas and meet your Grammy.
Absolutely.
And meet the fam, right? And and have that experience with you, because you gotta YOLO. You only live once. You gotta go to I gotta go to the black.
I promised him I would
Baptist
take
church.
him to black church, but
Yeah.
I'm so glad I grew up with that, like because it also as a kid I tapped into like there's like energy when they talk about a spirit. That's energy. And I would feel that in the church. Sometimes I would feel this energy and they would call it catching the spirit. And then so Fast forward, I'm in LA. I don't go to church no more because I'm in college and I don't have, like I'm in LA. Like I'm not going to church no more. But that whole Beyonce conspiracy stuff started, and I saw a picture of Jay-Z. Honestly, to this day, I don't know if that shit was photoshopped or not. But back then, I believed it because back then you didn't think about stuff being photoshopped.
Yeah,
I just
kinda,
saw, not me. Like I didn't think about it, but I saw.
now I think AI.
Oh God, with everything, you don't know
Yeah.
what is that scary. But back then, like I didn't think Photoshop, but Jay-Z had on a shirt that said "Do as thou wilt," and the person was like that wrote an article and it was like, "See, this is an Aleister Crowley quote," and he was a Luciferian, and Jay-Z's wearing a Luciferian's quote on his shirt, and I was like, "Oh my God," because I looked up the quote on his shirt, and it was from this dude Aleister Crowley, and so then I started getting into the occult because I'm like, they can't worship the devil. There must be something I'm missing here. I just refuse to believe Beyonce was worshiping Satan. So then I was like, okay, well, what's Luciferianism? And then it's like, that's worship of the devil. And I'm like, well, how do we know Lucifer is the devil? And then I thought about the Bible. I thought about the church stories that I heard about Lucifer being this beautiful angel in heaven, and he played music. And he became jealous of God, and then God was like, "You jealous of me? You want to be me? I'm casting you down to hell." And but when
who's the real villain here?
but dude, right? I'm like, look, he was a musician. But when I went and looked up that actual story that I grew up on, it wasn't biblically based. So then that sent me down this whole rabbit hole. Like, how much have I been told my whole life that's not even backed by this book? Or what else? What are the lies? You know what I'm saying? So that just sent me on this rabbit hole of like delving into religions and then spirituality. And so my friend, so then I was just open. I wanted to know everything about everything. So then I had a friend like, hey, you want to go chant in a temple? And I'm like, yeah, I'll go chant. I'm open. I want to learn. And I went, What?
Oh, sorry, I'm just mumbling along.
Oh, yeah. And I went to this.
It's her stimming. That's us, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Actually, kind of.
I know what that is, kind of. I went to a Buddhist temple, and it was a bunch of Asian people. And I had never seen anything like this in my life. Because I'm going to be real. Dallas, me growing up, we didn't have a lot of Asian people. And so I'm in this room, and it's like all these Asian people, and they're chanting, Yam no ho renge kyo nam yo ho renge kyo nam yo ho renge. And then, y'all, the energy in this building was crazy. And literally that feeling that I used to feel in this black church in the South, that spirit, when they say the Holy Ghost is in here, I felt that energy in this room of humans chanting in mass. And so that just fucked me up. I was like, oh. And then I sat down next to them and I was like, Nam yo ho renge kyo, and I like joined. And it was
sorry, my stupid computer. Computer, stop.
Do you mind if I actually run to the restroom real quick?
Yeah, wait. We'll finish this part first?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you got it.
Okay,
I can't remember it. I can't remember it.
Okay.
I've actually been holding it for an hour.
Right, she's like, I've been holding it.
No.
That's what
we
she
have
was
no
doing.
space for fragile bladders in this house.
You don't want her peeing in that chair, in that white
Actually,
chair.
yeah, never mind.
You don't want that.
You're right. I gotta be ethical towards my co-host.
Oh my God.
Now that's dope. That's dope.
What's dope?
Just thinking about the just stuff about opening up like to the world of the different, I didn't know the Jay-Z stuff though. It's funny. What if he was just
It
like,
all stemmed from Beyonce.
What if he was just like, what if you just asked him and he's like, I just like the shirt at the time.
But honestly, I tried to go back because I was telling somebody else about this, and I tried to go back and find that picture, and I found it, and that shit looks shoddy as hell. I said, me looking back now, I'm like, he didn't wear that shirt. Like, I'll show it to you. I'll show you. It's like him with a hoodie.
Yeah.
It looks so photoshopped.
I'm gonna look at it and be like, wow.
Y'all could actually kind of edit it into the podcast if it's gonna be that type of thing. But let me see.
Yeah, I'll just point to the side. Just point to where it's gonna show up.
Right.
Right here. Oh, damn. Yeah, very photoshopped. Yeah.
Right. But back
Crazy.
then, I didn't know no better. I was like,
Yeah, I'm kind of curious now.
yeah, it's like, oh my God, Jay-Z worshiped the devil. Oh God, you couldn't tell me. This was it. I still don't. I don't know. And there are other ones.
Yeah, you know why?
Why?
You see, like, the level of white that's at the whitest part of the photo of the window? That's brighter.
Right.
The shirt is actually brighter than the light from the window.
Right.
Which tells you, and like you see the shadows on his face? Right and underneath? That would have been like, despite it being a white shirt, that probably would have been a little darker of text. Because it's like...
You want to see? Because maybe also...
Yeah, it's definitely Photoshop.
Look at the other ones too.
Other ones too.
But see, I went and I pulled it up years later. This is like at the beginning of my journey. This is like my early 20s. I think I was like 20 years old.
Yeah. No, it's definitely like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the white. It's the values of the exposure on the shirt.
We found the picture that I said. Now I'm like, that shit was Photoshop.
Yeah, it's
but
definitely
back then I didn't know.
You know, it's interesting. It's kind of like been done to so many different artists over time. It's a satanic panic.
Oh yeah.
You know,
the satanic panic.
Yeah, no, it's true. They want to catch, like, especially artists that seem like the bad boy types, or like that are kind of like you know, the metal, the rebels, the rock stars of the world. And Jay-Z was certified like a rock star of his genre. That is like the classic thing, you know. The satanic panic was like, well, would you like him now if you know that he worships the devil?
What's crazy is I loved them so much that I was like, you know what? I'm gonna find out who Lucifer is. I don't, but like if I study, like I actually studied also Satanism a little bit. Like I got like a book of Satan and studied Anton LaVey.
Anton Dodson.
Oh my God, not Anton. I was him for Halloween one year. But yeah, I went in out because I was like, because again, like once this whole thing with the Buddhist temple happened, I just was like, okay, I just made connections. Like I was like, okay, I used to feel this in a black church with all the black people catching the spirit. Now I'm with a bunch of Asian people. They're not hopping around. They're sitting still, but they're chanting. But it's the same powerful energy that literally could knock a person off their feet.
Allowing yourself to focus on something, an intense thing, that's actually something that is, in waking life, is considered a skill of people on the spectrum. But usually it's specialized. It has to do with the one thing that they can focus on for hours and hours and hours. Yeah. And so, you know, it's possible that you have traits of ADHD, obviously, within the realm of being on the spectrum. But beyond that, there's usually that one thing that a person can do and focus in on for hours. And I actually don't think that it's that different from the part of the brain that meditates. I think
hyperfixation.
Yeah, it's hyperfixation. So the mantra that you're talking about in spirituality and in Buddhism and meditation actually could be a bridge in a way if you think about things that you know you can focus on for hours and hours. For me, it's music or like finishing a video or editing a video is like, it's like a flow. You get into a state of flow and you're actually done with the thing faster than anyone in their right mind should be.
Yeah, people get confused at my work because it was basically set up for me because the whole schedule is the same as the last person who did it. So I'll add to my schedule, and if something new comes up, I'll add that in. But I don't really have to think too much about what I need to do next, and I do it like because I hyperfixate on it. Because when I go to work, the only way that I can do it and do the job well is if I'm able to focus in. And I have my own office, and I don't have all this noise around. So that's the only reason I can even use that superpower. Right? But if it, like with drawing and everything, drawing, writing, anything artistic, I don't know about you, but I know I can just, like, 5 hours will pass.
Right.
Yeah, I can do that.
And I'll be like, wait, what time is it? Actually, I did that yesterday.
I mean, I have a life. I have things to do, obviously, but
it's my weekend,
okay.
Jaxon.
Hello, let her have her Saturday.
Thank you.
No, but yeah, no. The truth is, yes, I can relate to that. A man does need to eat at a certain point in the day, but if you,
I didn't eat.
Yeah, that's what happens.
That's part of hyperfixation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I've been there.
Yeah, and I've been there too, but there is a certain point where my mind will go numb if I don't, like, essentially actually take care of myself too.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing about the meditation, that I think that's a cool crossover, because we're giving you that like insight of like that intense focus. And if you've probably seen me like this before. You've been in the studio with me, and you'll be like jumping around dancing, and I'll be like trying to complete I'll be adding a compressor, or I'll be doing something on the computer, and you'll just be like, Jaxon. And I'm like, one thing at a time. I said, one thing at a time.
Like earlier before this, he was like in the zone. Like I know before we film anything, I just leave him alone really, because he's like in this state of whoop. Not that, but like putting everything together, right?
Dude, I've noticed I'm like this with Dion a lot. He like, I do this every day. I'm telling him like, hey, I just need to one thing. I tell him that a lot. Like, D, one thing. I'm sorry, I'm doing something. Like, if I'm trying to finish a text, I can't hold any type of conversation with you.
And sometimes other people, especially if they don't know you well enough, they'll be like, oh, sorry,
they will.
But you're not going to be able to carry out the task that you're doing if you don't say something.
Wow.
Because then it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
And I actually feel the same way about phone calls.
Yeah.
I'll have the most hand-free devices. I'll have my AirPods on. I'll be completely hands-free. But when I'm in a deep conversation with someone on the phone, I'll just sit down or lie down. I can't get the dishes done. My hand and my mind is so entrenched in the thing that my physical body can't do the other things.
I just walk in circles.
Yeah, or I pace, or I stay. I move around a lot and pace. So whenever someone sees me on a long phone call, I have a list of things that I made myself to do for the day that just will have to wait, because that's like I need for each individual thing. And actually, what's cool about that, I think that's allowed me to keep friends. Because people feel really special. People actually feel really special when you give them your full attention.
Full attention,
when you give people actual attention, eye contact, deep eye contact. When you do that, you actually people feel good. You make people feel special. You're actually listening to the things, actively listening to things.
Coming out of my mouth.
But that's the cool part, though, right? Because, again, all the stereotypes, but honestly, if you like it's not a one size fits all, and you've had all this time to learn and grow. You just learn and grow a little bit differently, and that's all.
I'm the man I want to be. I'm making myself.
But you're using your superpowers to create these relationships and keep them.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
That is a skill, and that is one of the most valuable skills, to be real with you. That's yes, Jaxon.
And also, I think, thank you. And that the thing about it is that you said patience earlier, right? It's really easy for most people lose patience and get frustrated with people. Like, I get frustrated with people too, but I have to someone has to push me over the line. To really cause that in me. I'm gonna segue from that to this. We talked about the stimulation and the overstimulation and the feelings of you getting into meditation, you feeling this urge to explore that, and it really helped you. It really helped ground yourself and know yourself actually. Yeah. I started living without roommates, 2 years ago. And I actually feel like I can exist in the world better. When you live with yourself, when you live by yourself, it's only you and your thoughts.
Your existence is more manageable.
Yeah, and you know what? I've actually shown up to meet with people just better and more grounded and more focused.
Yeah.
And it has to do with that stimulus. It has to do with you got voices, people around you at all times saying this, that, and the other, soaking in the information from people and conversations around you.
A lot out of you.
I don't want to do it a lot of the time. To be real with you.
Yeah, but I only just recently kind of understood how I worked in that sense. I used to get so irritated, and I would snap And I was like, why am I doing this? Like, why they didn't do anything. But over time I realized if I allow myself, like you, allow myself that time away to recenter myself, whether it be like what you do, meditation, things like that, I can show up better for other people.
Absolutely.
I don't have to think so hard. Yes, but there are other people where I have to prepare.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to mentally prepare to be around them. Or, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, okay, I got another question. Do you think it's more beneficial to be able to hyper focus or multitask?
You want me to start? Or you want to go?
I guess it depends. Again, it depends on the person. It depends on if you're on the spectrum, where you are on the spectrum. It depends on your upbringing. It depends on everything.
Yeah.
Well, she's asking you.
Dang.
She's asking
if you're
you, though.
specifically asking me.
Yeah.
No. You know, I don't have the best superpower to multitask because I am highly more likely to make mistakes. And so I kind of lean into my strengths, which is hyper focusing and hyper fixating. So I'm not going to say one is better over the other, but I'm going to lean towards my strengths and be like, well, this is great too. And I'm not going to be.
I needed that. Thank you. No, I needed to hear that. Because sometimes I feel like, dang, why can't you multitask? Like, people don't understand how I can be so fixing. But if I don't get like that, then I'm not getting none done. For sure.
Exactly.
I'm not getting anything done. Exactly. I don't operate like that.
This actually, so my answer is goes back into my childhood. We're gonna
float
you're gonna float backwards. Let's take a look back at little Jaxon here. So little Jaxon was there's actually an episode of The Simpsons that I looked back up recently. Bart is taking the standardized test. He's taking this test at school to pass the 4th grade. He's told by his teacher, in the whole Springfield thing, that he won't pass the 4th grade if he doesn't get this history test correct. And Bart is a quintessential ADHD kid, actually. Yeah. Like, they play him up as a hyperactive, rebel youth. But this episode goes into it, and he gets home, and he's trying to take the test seriously. And they're just not teaching him in the way it needs to be taught. And they're being trained to the test. And then he just sits in the basement, and his family's, listening to him. He's just hitting himself. Yeah. He actually starts, slapping his own face and getting so frustrated. I'm like, that was me. That was me in elementary school. I was hitting myself. I was hating myself. I felt like I was doing something wrong because I couldn't do it right. I couldn't do the thing right. Everyone said I couldn't do it right. So when you put a kid into that school system, in that box,
again.
and you do over and over again, you beat into them the same thing. You need to train. You need to learn the dates. You need to learn this, and you're also distracted by everything. I had super tics at the time, super Tourette's at the time. So not only was I I would hear someone chew a fucking Pringle in the back of the class, and I'd lose, my body would feel threatened.
Wow.
That was the level. Every noise. I sat alone at the lunch table. I didn't want to have to deal with anyone. And there were some empathetic kids that would try to, befriend me. But there was a certain phase where my mom was writing journals to the teacher, like, how did Jaxon do today? Well, Jackson's still struggling socially. There's journals written between my mom and teachers. He's still sitting alone at the table and doesn't seem to want to talk to anyone. He seems depressed. Just a little depressed 10-year-old. So you get to that point and you're told, and actually, they're trying to almost show you that you can't do the thing. There's a certain point where I feel like they're just showing me that I can't do this, right? They're putting me in. They
still do that.
Yeah, they're putting me in the remedial classes. They've isolated me from the normies, from those people, so that not only that they're showing me I need to be separated from the main kids. The other kids are looking like, why is he getting separated? Why is he getting pulled aside? Right? There's all that social dilemma, stigma. So we fast forward from that, right? And into work and life. What do you think the people we were talking about earlier in the podcast today, we're talking about bottomless mimosas. I think there's a good chance that most of the bottomless mimosa people did okay in school.
Yeah.
They figured it out. They figured out the system and they went with it.
Because the system was built for them.
The system was built for them, and bottomless mimosas were also built for them.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, though, I actually did pretty good in school. I did good.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're smart, and I think you're fucking smart. But the thing is about it is that when you probably knew some of the kids too that were like I don't know what the fuck is going, like what the hell's going on, or they had behavioral issues, or they're acting out right.
I had behavioral issues.
Well, yeah,
too.
Yeah, obviously,
the teachers used to be like, because they used to be like, but
the problem with that though, and like what you experienced, Jaxon, is they're trying to force you to learn the way neurotypical people learn,
do, right?
And it's not gonna happen.
And the reason I brought that, and the reason,
no hope.
Yeah, and the
it's
reason
not gonna happen.
And the reason
no
I brought
hope.
that up, and why it kind of sums up the question that you had, in my opinion, is that the reason I brought that up is because we basically those boxes, the standardized test method, is almost the multitasking of the world, is almost we're giving you all the stuff, you're going to sort the things, and you're going to come back with the things resorted, you're going to present it. And so, when you build your own structure in life, when you build your own stuff, be entrepreneur.
You're excelling. You're absolutely excelling, Jaxon, because you were able to pull away and build things and create your own space in which you can actually function.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that just because you learn differently or do things differently does not make you any less intelligent or any less capable.
But also, I think that's the key to like everybody's situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Build your thing.
Yeah.
Because you may not fit into whatever the main thing is, but you can still build your situation and thrive.
And this is the other thing, no one's going to tell you that either. You have to discover that yourself. No one's going to be like, you should do your own thing.
You might hear it on the Neurofucked podcast.
Yeah. You might.
Yeah. Hopefully.
And maybe like the other thing is like for people that even in your fan base, in your friend group who have kids and they are like, yeah, he's different, or like she's different, and like I don't really know what to do with them, or I don't know what to do. The best case scenario, I think one of the reasons I ended up the way I am is my mom recognized this stuff early on, and she was just like, why make him keep hitting himself over these equations, over these things that are taught to him a certain way, when he has told me and expressed an interest in playing guitar and piano and songwriting. Why would I force him to do something where he's clearly in agony over it, right? When there's things over here that I could at least put a little bit of attention into, play to someone's strengths, right?
Right.
Always play to someone's strengths, because a lot of successful people in the industry and artists, a lot of them you'll go back and they had really supportive. They had parents that were like, no, you can do it. You can do whatever you want if you actually apply yourself.
Find yourself, right.
Right? So we've had a real good time. Maybe we had a cozy night. Lexi feeling good. I've seen a few yawns around. I think we're like, it's been a long day.
I'm like, my energy level was like, woo.
I was like, I think everyone's like, all right.
It's all the.
I feel like I'm on Rogan right now.
It's all the hums I've been saying. They've been putting you into it.
It's that vibration. It's that frequency.
It's that,
it's like the hum of the earth.
Oh. Yeah, okay, well, Terance, this one's for you.
Terance.
He over there grunting.
I burped like twice. Did you hear that?
I can hear your heartbeat at this point.
Wow.
Wow. That's romantic. Anyway, is there anything you want to talk about that you're excited about right now?
I'm really excited about my second installation to my Black Alice series. And I renamed it. I think I had a different name when we talked about it last, but it's The Villain.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's The Villain.
The Villain, I like that. So,
and I want to say it's not just stand-up comedy; it's music too. And I got some records. I got a record with Jaxon.
Oh yeah.
We
got a few records. We got a few
records.
things going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited for all of that. I'm excited. We got some ballads. We turn you into a full alternative rock balladeer.
I cannot wait to be a rock star.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're working
You know?
on that. But you already are in my book. You already are a rock star to
Because
me.
you see me. You really see me, Jaxon.
I see you.
me.
I see you. I hear you.
I grew up on Tina Turner, so, you know.
Yeah. Also, rest in peace, Quincy Jones.
R.I.P.
Legend. Absolute legend. Yeah.
Legend. I actually got to have, like, a heart-to-heart with him, too, at a certain point.
Is there anything you remember him like telling you that you talked
nope.
about? No.
I don't remember
You don't
at all.
Okay.
I really don't.
Well,
On that note, Alexis Miranda, we're so happy to have you. We had a very insightful conversation today, I think.
Yeah.
Very
Yes,
productive.
absolutely.
We talked
Yeah.
about mental health. We talked about all the things, autism spectrum disorder, artists, weirdos,
Yeah.
comedians.
coping mechanisms
Coping
for
mechanism.
overstimulation.
The Illuminati.
Accidental orgies. We got it.
Yeah.
We actually, this is quite an interesting episode, I will say.
We went on a journey.
We went on a
did.
journey. We came back.
We came
We're
back.
here in our bodies. Let's go. Let's go. Everyone,
We're
give
in
it
our
up.
bodies,
Everyone,
yeah.
give it up for us. Give it up for Alexis Miranda, yo.
Yeah.
Can I give it up for myself?
Yeah, give it up
Okay.
for you.
You're
You're
already
allowed to.
clapping, so just clap louder.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching the video. Would you like? Would you subscribe? Could you do all the nice things? Write a comment what you like, what you didn't like. We're here for you. We're gonna be here for you with all your wants, needs, and desires and your deepest fantasies. But maybe not that. But like, you know, Haley, what do you think?
I think we should start over. I think my eyes were closed most of the time.